Welcome back. I appreciate your support and your following on this study of the Gospel of Matthew. I find myself in this chapter and this chapter of Matthew is chapter 17 and verse 17 of Matthew. I'll be reading from William Beck's The New Testament in the Language of Today, which is a part of a larger. Over the years, I have found a number of used copies of scriptures in used bookstores. And this is one that occasionally you can find from a different era, kind of useful and helpful to a degree. Verse 17 of chapter 17 of Matthew says this, reading from the Beck translation. "Oh, you unbelieving and perverted people," Jesus answered, "how long must I be with you? How long must I put up with you? Bring him here to me." Now, you may be able to relate to and recall hearing this expression. It is hard to soar like an eagle when you work with turkeys. If you have been in the workforce for any length of time, you probably can relate to that expression. There are people out there for whom you end up wondering, how in the world did they ever get this job? Or how in the world do they ever keep this job? There are people that you soon resent working with, as they will make your job more difficult. We all understand you have the right people to work with and the job to be okay, even on the busiest days. And then there are some people you work with and, oh, could I just turn over and go back to sleep and just call it a day? They are people of whom you feel that you end up having to do some of their work so that the work can get done. Not a good thing. Jesus did not use the above expression. It's hard to soar like an eagle when you work with turkeys. But Matthew chapter 17 and verse 17, if I were to put it in an ultra living modern translation of English, that's what Jesus was expressing. It is hard to soar like an eagle when you work with 12 turkeys. Gobble, gobble. Jesus in Matthew 17 and verse 17 expresses frustration. Now, understand that Jesus was fully human. Yes, fully divine, but he was also fully human. It is not to be doubted that he had his moments when he had to be exasperated with the people he worked with. The problem is not with that feeling, it is what is done with that feeling. It would be easy to understand Jesus pulling away from the crowds because of his frustration. It would have been easy enough for him to throw up in his hands and say, "What is the use in all of this?" In a sense, one of the greatest miracles that Jesus performed is that he allowed the people to continually come to him. He did so even as they were not getting what he was truly about. Jesus was not naive about the people he worked with. He understood only too well that many of the people who sought him out did so only for what they could get out of him. Jesus was important as long as there was a need. This has not changed much in 2,000 years since his death and resurrection. If you are going to work in the church, you have to understand that not all the people that are there for good and noble reasons. Jesus today, as it was in his day, is simply to some a means to an end. In the New International Version, we have the words unbelieving and perverse in verse 17 of Matthew chapter 17. It is used of these people who came to him. If Jesus used that of people in his day and age, what would Jesus use of some of the people that you find in the church that you worship in week after week? In the work of the church, there is always a danger of fatigue and burnout. Now, some of this is no different than work in any other job. You have busy weeks, you come home, you're tired by the end of the week, just wanting to put your feet up and just wanting to take a couple of days off. Some of it, though, is unique to the work of the church and ministry in particular. And in that sense, this applies not just to clergy, but to anybody who makes a commitment to work in the church, to seek, to serve, and to minister for Christ in the church. You see, a lot of it comes from having a sense of what this is all about, what the gospel, what the faith is, what Jesus is all about. And then realizing time and time and time again that people are willing to settle for something far less than the real and the genuine. They just want an extra paycheck. They just want the trip. They just want the healing. They just want this. They do not want the glories of the gospel and the glory of Jesus Christ in his life. There is the unique sense of frustration in the church when you deal with people who have no intention or no desire to take seriously the claims of the gospel of Jesus Christ. Their lives can lift no further than this life. They cannot see beyond the horizon to the coming of the kingdom of God and the glory of Jesus Christ and all of that which is there. No, they are just concerned with the here and now. You work in an environment where people are just willing to settle for something far less, and it can do something for you over time. It can drag you down. Jesus sets an example to us. Yes, he got frustrated, but he did not allow that to make him swerve from his purpose and his goal. May we keep our eyes focused on the bigger picture and not allow the nitty gritty, the run of the mill problems of everyday life in the church get us to the point where we lose sight of what we are truly about and truly seeking to accomplish.